Greetings to the V family all over the planet. This is your Chief, Padman Sinatiraja, here to introduce another amazing, unbelievable episode of In the Zone with the one and only, our grand upline and mentor, Dato Sri Vijay Ishwaran. Dato Sri, 2018 has been a very, very exciting year. But I have to admit, it has also been a few uphill challenges which the network and the corporate family, your corporate family, are going through every day. And I was just trying to remember your advice to me in the early days when we started. And three alphabets shine on me like really bright. The AAA. Adapt, adjust, accommodate, Dato Sri. That saved my life throughout my journey. But I think times have changed since you shared it with me 20 years ago, Dato Sri. Now, how would you share it with the network today, out there, who are facing small all the way to humongous challenges throughout their journey, going back to adapt, adjust, accommodate?
First of all, it's good to be back. You know, I myself am coming from a hiatus. This is a very involved question because our ability to adapt, adjust, accommodate does not depend on the nature of the challenge. You know, what is a ton to a mouse is a timber to an elephant. Are you with me?
Yes.
So it is our capacity that needs to grow and change. All problems by their nature come to us at particular times in our lives in order to test our ability to grow, but they are never more than we can handle. So we grow every time we need to adapt, adjust and accommodate. The ultimate purpose of that process, adapting, adjusting, accommodating, is somewhat like going to the gym. When we go to the gym, what really happens is the first time we go there and we exercise, we pick up some dumbbells, this, that and the other, we end up tearing muscles.
Yes.
Muscles are torn. In fact, muscles that are torn, that regrow, are the second, third, fourth layer. Knotted muscles make strength. So in order to knot, it has to tear and grow back again, tear and grow back again. That's how muscles are built. Are you with me? So this tearing and growing back again is a mental process as well. We need mental dexterity, mental strength. We need mental versatility. Are you with me? And that dexterity, mental dexterity, only happens when we are taken to the limit. So we need to adapt until we cannot adapt anymore. We need to adjust until we think we cannot adjust anymore. And we need to accommodate till we basically break down under the weight. Now, the result of that process each time is growth.
Yes.
Is growth, inevitably. When you stretch 105% at anything that you do, that 5% extra becomes your next 100%. Are you with me?
Yes.
So that 5% extra that you did not have previously will be your norm on your next encounter, your next challenge. Are you with me?
Yes.
So this process that we undergo, this adapt, adjust, accommodate, interestingly, is one where we actually have to break the rules. We have to actually be broken in a sense, be torn in a sense, and then be rebuilt. So what is adapt? Adapt is, interestingly, where you need to pick up something new.
Okay.
That's how you adapt.
Yes.
Right. You actually need to learn a new skill, a new art, a new way of smiling. When you're in Rome, do what the Romans do. You know, it's ridiculous for you to arrive in the West, for instance, and refuse to understand their customs.
Like a leader building a new market, that is right.
Exactly. Because you have built in a certain fashion where you come from.
Yes.
You need to basically change your entire mindset. So adapting is actually, the crux of leadership. It's the crux of leadership building. So we need to acquire new skills all the time. New ways of talking, new ways of looking, new ways of dealing with people, so on and so forth. Are you with me? The first time I went to the Philippines and I was asking directions. Right? So I went up to this guy and I said, I'm trying to go to this place. So please, can you tell me how to go? And the guy goes. So I go back to him again. I said, I thought some maybe a mosquito was bugging his nose or something. He goes, and I'm saying, excuse me, sir, I'm asking how to go to this place, right? I repeated again the address and so on. He goes, I thought he's being rude, And the third time I ask him, he says, he gets annoyed with me. He says, I already told you 2 times, go here. Are you with me? Now, that's how they do it. It is their custom. And if you want to understand that as a language, then you need to adapt. Are you with me? So when they want to say yes, they go, are you with me? So you're saying, is that a yes? You're still waiting there, and you go,
Now I understand a lot of things that happened to me in the Philippines, Dato.
So this comes with different cultures. I'm just using that as an experience. To me, I have always felt I was more enriched by going to the Philippines. Yes. I had to adapt. I have to, pick up new skills, understand new ways of dealing with people. Then you come to the second, adjust. Now, adjust is where you give up something. Are you with me? Adjust is you bending, you flexing, you saying, sacrificing. Adjusting is saying, like, we had to adjust all the time. It comes with the Asian culture. Every time a guest comes to the house, my bed becomes the first.
Becomes Airbnb.
Exactly. So I moved to the carpet.
Yes.
Basically, suddenly I'm out there sleeping in the living room. But it was part and parcel of our culture, and rather than resent it, it's always better to embrace it. So adjusting means don't resent. Don't do it just because. In fact, embrace it. Enjoy the process. Then when you do that, everything changes.
Yeah.
So actually, sleeping on the carpet wasn't too bad, because more often than not, there were a bunch of kids sleeping on the carpet. So all of us will chit-chat with each other, games will be going on, on the carpet, etc., so on and so forth. And we would talk to each other and so on. And that's a new experience. Whenever you pay a price, the price comes with gain. There's always a gain. So that's adjust. Then ultimately accommodate. Now, accommodate is a unique process. Accommodate is not about learning a new skill. It's not about, giving up or sacrificing. It's about accepting. That means that the weight, you have to carry somebody else's weight. That is accommodate. Do you get my point? So, when someone has issues and challenges and worries, and so accommodate them. Are you with me? Some people need to vent, this is leadership. Sit down, accommodate them. Listen. Stop making the entire hearing process a biological process, as opposed to, a listening process. The biological process doesn't require the brain. Many of us have mastered the art of hearing simply by going through school. I have known so many people who can sit there with their eyes open and be totally asleep. So the trick here is to switch from hearing to listening. And listening means empathy. Accommodation requires empathy. Feel as they do. It's biblical. Love thy neighbor as thyself, which means put yourself in their shoes. Walk a mile in your neighbor's shoes. And that empathy, that accommodation, the third part of leadership, is again fundamental to growth. So that's what it means.
And Dato Sri, in this adapt, adjust, accommodate, everyone has a different threshold of how much they can adapt, adjust, accommodate. How does one keep that threshold growing? Because I watched you, Dato Sri. You have evolved so much over the past 20 years on how much you would adapt, adjust, accommodate to us as your leaders, as your downlines, and the corporate family. But I observe a lot of leaders today, their threshold is very low. So they don't adapt, adjust, accommodate much. And they tend to lose and burn relationships with their downlines and core people. How does one improve that threshold?
Ultimately, it's about embracing. embrace, accept. The only time that you are not able to raise your threshold is when you expect too much.
Yes.
Expectation leads to disappointment. It's the fundamental, rule of all things. The more you expect, the more you get disappointed. Expect less, accept more.
Yes.
You see, amazingly enough, the same threshold that you talk about with the leaders, they have the amazing capacity to accept threshold where there is a benefit.
Yes.
When they're used to business class, suddenly their threshold has moved. They're used to, first class, they say, oh, cannot talk about business class anymore. Their threshold has moved. Are you with me or not?
Yes.
They all started, in the small coffee shops around the corner somewhere. We all started in, little pool hall tables, little corners, little alcoves in the hotel. And now suddenly, we need first class treatment. You see, so if we can move thresholds in that manner, then we should also move thresholds in the other manner. Are you with me?
Yes.
The whole point of moving thresholds is to recognize that, ultimately, your growth as a person, as an individual, should not be stunted. You see, if you grow in this fashion where you are getting smaller and it's actually myopic, your growth is myopic because it's like a funnel, because you are restricting yourself more and more. If you can sleep in first class or in business class or in economy or on the floor as you like, that leaves you with incredible flexibility, incredible versatility. When you can talk to, the guy who's mending your shoes and have a conversation with him about his life and chit-chat with him as he's fixing your shoes, as well as you can talk to presidents and prime ministers, that is your growth, your richness, your wealth. Because they both, whether presidents or shoemakers, they have the capacity to uplift you.
Yes.
So that's threshold. Don't have any.
And Dato Sri, I've always applied adapt, adjust, accommodate to your philosophy of in-service. If you look at a leader who is truly in service like yourself, this AAA becomes our core foundation. Would you say that the concept of in-service that you have implemented in the family of QI, the V and QNet comes from that adapt, adjust, accommodate? That would be a reflection of being service above self.
Clearly. In-service is, a beautiful thing, actually. It allows us to reflect back to the point in our lives where we accepted help from so many people. Yeah. At some point or another, we were at so many people's mercy. We were at so many people's, we were basically at their beck and call as we were growing. And so many of them helped. Yes. Teachers, neighbors. Do you know the number of times you almost ran across the street and some stranger put his hand out and stopped you as a child? Basically saved your life in that instant. Yeah. And you barely shook it off, hardly gave him a smile and ran off. Yeah. Do you get my point?
Yes.
And that's how we have gone through life. We owe so much to so many. To uncles, to grandparents, to neighbors, to teachers who are not alive anymore. I mean, I just lost one of my dearest and respected teachers. But during school days, he was a holy terror. I mean, he ruled his roost. And he walked the halls. It was, his thread of his boots coming down the halls ensured silence. But he was an incredible guy. He was a great coach, a wonderful hockey coach, and losing him actually a few weeks ago it's amazing how many students came out from everywhere across the world. The number of floral tributes that came for him filled up the room and went out into the street. And over the last few months, he was declining. And he was a government servant, so he didn't really have too much money. He was on dialysis. Out of nowhere, students came out of everywhere to pitch money together, whether it was, $5 or $500, they all pitched it together. His dialysis, until he passed away, was all paid for by students. And that is a trademark of a man who has lived his life well. You see, it's not money that earns you these things. So in service, again, coming back to that, is about understanding the value, the true value of leadership. We are giving back. For the number of times, numerous times, somebody put their hand out and saved us.
Yes.
Somebody encouraged us to do something different, patting us on the back at the right time and saying, do this, be brave. Are you with me? Or correcting a mistake, changing us. A smile sometimes changes everything. Are you with me? Yes. I still remember an unknown person who, when I was going for one of my first interviews out of college, and I was, pacing the hallway outside waiting for the interview to happen. Somebody walked by and he looked at me and says, I wouldn't hire you, man. So I stopped and he says, smile, chill out. Be someone that, they want to hire. Are you getting my point? And it was good advice. I've never seen the guy since, you see, but he gave me good advice. And likewise, we have opportunities right now to do the same to so many people at so many levels, and we should. And we shouldn't use the benchmark of what people have done to us and say, hey, I didn't get this.
Yeah.
I didn't get all this support. I didn't get all this love and whatnot and so on. Therefore, why should I give it? Heck, that's the time you should give more. If you haven't received it till now, double up. Are you with me? Pay it forward. Because that's truly what life is about.
Nicely put, Dato Sri. Thank you. We have a couple of questions from the audience, Dato Sri.
Hi, Dato Sri. When is adapt, adjust, accommodate not considered as merely a compromise? And when does it become just a compromise?
Ultimately, what's wrong with compromise? That question basically questions whether we need to compromise or not. The reality is, what's wrong with compromise? We compromise all the time. Now the issue would be, am I compromising too much per se? Now, if you are giving up your principles, any one of them, adjusting your principles, principles are the pillars of your life. So the way you know whether you compromise too much is whether any one of these principles need to be bent. Do you need to lie? Do you need to cheat? Do you need, any of these things that are not, negotiable. We must have principles that are rock solid. They are the pillars of our lives. Now, as long as these pillars are not touched, compromise till the cows come home. Compromise, till the moon comes up. Compromise is not a mistake. Compromise is how the world survives. Compromise is exactly the key to my other topic, which is about, confront before you conflict.
Yeah.
Confront before you conflict leads to compromise. Actually, you cannot get your own way all the time. The art of moving forward is compromise. You do it all the time anyway when it's not in your hands, when you don't have the ability to control it, i.e., when you're driving to work. You compromise. You have to give in sometimes, you have to cut ahead sometimes, somebody overtakes you sometimes. Happens all the time, yes or no? Are you going to get down and chase the fellow with the hockey stick? What are you going to do? And drive. Are you with me or not?
Yeah.
Compromise is not an issue. Adapt, adjust, accommodate to the level that none of your pillars are touched.
Principles.
Your principles cannot be bent.
Yeah.
Simple as that. If you know your principles, then everything else is open game.
Yes.
Make sense?
Thank you, Dato Sri. One more question. Yes, Vignesh.
Dato Sri, every time I'm in a situation where I might seem like it's not such a good situation, I turn to these words: adapt, adjust, and accommodate. And suddenly it turned out well for me. Adapt, adjust, accommodate for me means I would never have to blame anyone to make excuses. But there are times when it becomes difficult. What can you advise, Dato Sri, during this situation where there is so much negativity?
This, is not about the rest of the planet. What they do is not your standard. How you're being treated is not, something that you can control. See, ultimately, I always say, results are his. Effort is yours. So, break it down to its simplest formula. Don't worry about what anyone else does. Only worry about what you are doing. Are you with me or not? Which is why I always talk about your principles, not theirs. They have to live with their principles and they have to live with the results of that. Every time they break it, every time they bend it, believe me, they pay. Inevitably, we all pay. You have seen it in your own lives. You know, every time that you regret, when you look back at your life and you regret a decision, believe me, at the root of it, you will find a principle has been lost. You did something you would not have done under different circumstances. Check your emotions at the door is also what I say. So, if somebody else is emotional, that's not a reflection on you. But when you're emotional back to him or her, then you are reacting. Now that reaction, that is yours. So why are you reacting? So you need to go back to the simple formula, in essence, correct yourself and the world will change. Are you with me or not? Keep correcting yourself and you will find that how people react to you changes. It's very simple actually. You are a mirror to the world and the world is a mirror to you. Change this mirror. This is in your power. You cannot change anyone. You can't even change your children. Are you with me? I mean, I know this for a fact. You have grown up with your siblings. You all know your siblings. Your own brother and sister. Grown up in, basically thrown together in the same beds, same bedroom, same family. Are you getting my point? Same house, and yet you have no influence over them. True or not true?
True, that's true.
So, if you cannot do this to your own siblings and to your own kids when you have them, what more the world? What are you complaining about? It's amazing how all of you accept garbage from your kids, accept even more garbage from your siblings, right? You accept all that garbage, but when it comes to people who work with you, cannot. So this is where you have to correct yourself. Are you with me or not?
Yes.
So be it in a network or in corporate life, change who you are. And the world will change to meet you.
Unbelievable. Dato Sri, thank you so much. But before I let you go, Dato Sri, being your humble student, I wanted to close this episode with a bit of fun. Dato Sri, this is called the speed round, Dato Sri. I will say one word and immediately you must say a word back. Whatever comes to your mind immediately, Dato Sri. Are you ready? Right, that's it.
Have you heard Padman's answer to that? I was born ready.
I was born. Okay, Dato Sri. First word. And immediately, whatever comes to your mind, Dato Sri, speed round. Love.
Affection.
Money.
Not necessary.
Freedom.
Absolute.
Partner.
Always.
Family.
Inside.
Humility.
Never to be left behind.
Umayal.
Life.
Japadas.
Friend, partner, brother.
Thank you, Dato Sri. At least we got that. Thank you very much.